Hello there, welcome in. We're up to the usual, working on some mindfulness sketches. If you're new here, just a quick introduction. We do end up with a completed work of art, but the objective is not necessarily to reach that end result. The benefit of this practice is to spend time mindfully engaging in the process. And this is what I do for my mindfulness practice. It helps me to concentrate, to focus, practice being focused. Helps me to be a little bit calmer. There's all kinds of benefits. You can Google mindfulness if you're curious about it. So at this stage of the drawing, I'm using a pen that uses an archival ink, so it's permanent. It's a pigment dye-based ink. And after this step of outlining these rounded pebble shapes, I'll be able to go in with some more media. And it won't be limited to dry media. I'll be able to use wet media because this ink is waterproof. So my objective here is to engage in the process. I'm not overly concerned with the product. I just want to have some quiet, calm time here at the workbench. Welcome in tonight. Nice to see everybody there. I'm looking for each shape to reveal itself, and I'm using some care to connect the end of the pen with the paper and define those outlines. Hello there. Good to see you again. I apologize. I've had some connectivity problems today, and so if you get buffering, what I have noticed today is that the feed picks right back up again. So I will try to get reconnected if it drops out. I do like to let you guys know when I'm ending the feed, so again, I apologize if it causes buffering on your end. I know that's no fun. How are you doing today, Annoyed Cricket Helmet? And that's quite a name. I always wonder how people come up with their names. Cricket Helmet says, love the art. I've had this background kicking around for probably about a week, and I've picked it up several times and looked at it. And sometimes I'll take a look at them and they just immediately, they call to me. There's lots of pebble shapes that jump out. This one didn't have too many obvious shapes, but it had these delicious colors. So I thought tonight, I'll tackle it. You know, with any of these, they're just a piece of paper, so far they've all eventually been workable. Sometimes when I'm looking at them and I'm a bit intimidated, not seeing the shapes, not sure where to get started, I'll tell myself, well, it's just a piece of paper. The worst that happens is I just toss it. But I also make paper mosaics, so it would probably not actually get tossed. Probably just put it into the little box of scraps I have and might cut it up and incorporate it into a mosaic or a collage. I guess a paper collage is maybe a little more accurate. library table here is it's really due to get a bit of refinishing here, but I'm still trying to be careful not to put too many permanent ink marks on the top of it. My father, we used to be in great shape, this table. My father commandeered it and had it in his shop for a while, and I finally said, Dad, I need my library table back. He came back, and it just had been, it'd been kind of weathered. Instead of being treated like a piece of furniture and getting a bit of furniture polish every so often, it just, he put it to work, and it's earned itself anew. I could probably sand it down and give it a new coat of maybe something like a rub-on polyurethane. I find that's a pretty useful surface for furniture in the studio space. It resists all that wet media that I like to use. Not being very mindful when I'm sitting here drawing while my brain is going 100 miles an hour about furniture refinishing. I try to just bring my attention back to what I'm doing here. And that's mindfulness. Our human brains do like to work on problems. And it's not a mindfulness fail to have other thoughts. Mindfulness is the practice of just inviting yourself back to the task at hand without judgment. And there's no reason to scold myself about my brain just being a human brain. That's what we'll do all day long, is try to work out the problems of being a human in the modern world. There's a lot of stuff we have to be responsible for. So when our brains go off thinking, they're just really trying to keep us on task to deal with all of the various things we might have in our day. The skill we're trying to build with mindfulness is not to have this pristine mind that never wanders. It's to develop a discipline about being able to bring your awareness to the present time, to be able to take note of when the attention wanders off into the future or delves back into our past, and to shepherd our thoughts back to what we're doing in the here and now. When you can bring yourself into the present time, then you can experience a flow state, which is very restorative. And a flow state helps us to replenish the neurotransmitters that we need for clear thinking. And I find that it helps me to actually be more effective when I'm working on a planning task, or I move on to the next thing. I can fully and much more effectively engage with whatever I need to get accomplished when I'm not trying to juggle a whole assortment of tasks. So it's a little counterintuitive at first. Oh, I'm going to spend time doing this thing? Well, what's this getting done? What it's accomplishing is teaching me to be more effective when I'm approaching just about any kind of task in my life. And it also helps me build capacity to accomplish things. I deal with some chronic health issues, and a couple of them, they really just deliver a wallop of pain. And if you've ever been in a state of pain or in chronic pain, you might have noticed that it can really interfere with your productivity. It's distracting. So building the skill of being able to concentrate and work with the resources I have where I'm at, that's helpful. So I did have some questions today about the quality of the videos, and I have noticed that YouTube is taking a really long time to process video uploads in the last few days. So if you're on the replay crew and you're struggling with that, it may be that just the YouTube processing of the videos is not completed. And you can tell that that is still in process if you go to replay live chat and it's not yet available. The processing seems to include things like preparing a transcript and then loading and attaching the live chat replay. So there's really nothing I can do about it on this end. Thank you. I do appreciate the encouragement, the compliments. I'm kind of a sensitive bird, and when I get criticisms, especially about things that I don't have control over, it can really be impactful. I read somewhere that people need to hear 10 compliments for every one criticism they get. And I think that's true of everybody. Most of the people we encounter could use a little encouragement and certainly kindness. All right, shall we do another one? Let me know if anything catches your eye. Not quite sure what to do with that one yet. That might need, this one might need another layer. What do you guys think about this one? Or this one? I'm kind of feeling this one. All right. Thing one, thing two. Hello, Maya. We're just taking a vote on the next pebble drawing. What do you think? Kind of like those dark shapes in this one, but this one's nice and bright. Is this one number two? This one's number one, right? This one's number two? How are you doing today, Maya? It's nice to see you in. We just got finished with this one. Hello, Raul. It's good to see you. I was thinking of you today. It's nice to see you in. We're just taking a little vote. Here's number one. And here's number two. I have to say, I think after looking at number two for a moment, I'm actually feeling this one a little bit more right now. It's a whole quarter of an inch bigger in size. But let's see how it goes. I know. I like to have a stack where they're all just inviting, so there's really not a wrong choice. I have a little bowl of pebbles here as inspiration, hanging out with me today. I showcased these. I did a couple of live streams earlier today, and they're fun. This one has little bits of something in there that just sparkle. I do pick up agates at the beach. I live in Oregon, and we have agates that are pieces of clear quartz. Actually, not usually. Sometimes clear, but also tinged a little bit with carnelian or red agate. Maya says she needs a bowl of pebbles. Everybody, you need a bowl of pebbles, I think, in every room. Can't go wrong with a bowl of pebbles. It's just a nice thing to pick up and have a look at. Connect with nature a bit. All right. Just sometimes have to take a breath and get started. Get started somewhere. And most of the rocks and pebbles here are kind of it's fairly gray, but there was just something appealing about the way it was flat and the way it feels smooth under the fingers. But they don't all have to be striking or beautiful. Sometimes I just pick up a pebble because I like the shape of it, or there's just something eye-catching about it. And almost every time I go to a state or a national park, if it's not prohibited, I will pick up a pebble or two, and I very often find them in the dryer, to be honest, or the bottom of the washing machine, because I tuck them in my pockets and I forget to clean out my pockets. Some of our parks actually prohibit taking home rocks, which I understand. I mean, we don't want the park to go home in the pocket of everyone who visits, but sometimes I see those signs and I think, how many people carrying pebbles would it take to just carry the park down off the mountain? I don't know. But there are what we call rock hounds, and they are people who go in with a 5-gallon bucket and look for things like volcanic glass, obsidian, and the rock hounds actually have done they've done some damage in some of our volcanic parks in Central Oregon. So now you need to get a permit. There's particular areas where you can go collect your buckets of rocks so that you're not destroying the features that people come to the park to see. Funny world we're in, eh? Annoyed cricket helmet. Do you paint rocks? Yeah. I do confess. I like a nice smooth rock. There's something very satisfying about that. But I also do sometimes collect pieces of volcanic rock. This one, I hope you can see. It's a piece of volcanic rock, and when it's split open, you see the outside that was exposed to the earth and weathered, and then it came down in a bit of a landslide, so some of the rocks were broken open. And I noticed that this rock contains lots of little air pockets or atmospheric pockets, and the inside of them is this bluish color, and then on the outside the reddish iron stain. It just looked like a kind of a chunky rock, and then as I turned it over, it was kind of interesting. So I'll take home all kinds of rocks. And then this was from another place. These both came from the Columbia River Gorge. The Columbia River is one of our largest Pacific Northwest rivers. It separates a good portion of Washington State and Oregon State. And so I was, oh, I don't know, probably 20 or 30 miles away from the other piece, and I saw this and I thought, well, that really looks like that other rock. So got it in my pocket and came home. But that area of our state geology is all part of the same pyroclastic flows from volcanoes. Y'all might have heard of, all y'all might have heard of Mount St. Helens that blew up in 1980. It's part of the same mountain chain. And Mount St. Helens is just north of the Columbia River Gorge a little bit, so lots of volcanic rocks in the Pacific Northwest. Oh man, I like painted rocks. I've got a handful of them that I've found here, there, and out and about. I find them absolutely delightful. And people put them in the most clever little spots. I have a bit of a balance problem, so when I'm hiking, I do tend to look at my feet so that I don't topple over. And so, one of the rewards of watching where you're putting your feet is that sometimes that's a really good way to spot those painted rocks that people leave out and about. So, Annoyed Cricket Helmet, label your rocks like with kindness rocks or something that on the back, or your name on the back, and then leave them out in the wild, or do you just some people paint them just to have decorative rocks for their own environment, which is really, that's pretty cool too. Some of the ones I find will have a group name or a hashtag on the back, and then when you go on social media, you can find. I've found a couple of individuals and said, "Hey, I found a rock here," and but sometimes it's just I guess a Facebook group. I haven't been out much this summer, so it's probably haven't seen one since last spring. It's the rock painting. I don't know if it was a craze, but fad, or it started in 2020 when everybody was looking for something to do and they were kind of stuck at home. And so one of the places that opened up fairly soon after the lockdown was because even our public parks were locked down here in Oregon. You couldn't go take a stroll in the park, and then as we learned more about the transmission of COVID, we were able to go out to parks, and of course there were all of the signs that said you had to socially distance and wear masks, and you could be asked to leave a wide open pasture park if you didn't have a mask on. So people just trying to find something to do with themselves. And so in 2020, I would find painted rocks, very often. Probably 1 out of 4 times I went out to a park, I'd see rocks. I think people just wanted to connect with each other. Or there were a lot of families with their kids at home, just trying to find some activity to keep everybody busy. All right, kids, we're going to paint rocks now. Since I'm almost always just arm's length away from a bowl of rocks, let me just grab some of these. This was one of the first ones I found. It's just a delightful little frog. This one's got a mop and a bucket, and it says on strike. So from Lynn County Rocks. This one always makes me smile because I imagine this woman was just tired of doing housework, and she said, forget it, I'm on strike, no more housework, I'm gonna sit and paint rocks. I found this one up at Mount Hood. Isn't that incredible? Sorry about that reflection, that's just... This one looks like it was poured in a mold. I don't think it's technically a rock, but it was out in the wild and it was painted. Sometimes we find them and there's no name, just a heart, just some kindness that somebody put out in the world. I found this one was tucked into a driftwood log at the beach one day. A yellow submarine. Isn't that incredible? I mean, there's so many different colors. And it says Lincoln City Rocks on the back. Raoul, did you say ladybugs? I love this one. It's kind of a green ladybug. Hashtag Lori, exclamation point. CNV. This one has a little bee on it. And it says be nice. So sometimes I'll pick them up and I'll take them up places and I'll leave them other places, especially if they've got the hashtag on the back. And I know somebody's out in social media just looking to see where their rock travels to. So I like to take a rock I find at the beach and then put it out up in the mountains. Because I think, especially if I think a child did it, because they're probably just having fun looking to see where the rocks traveled. And I'll leave these guys out. I make these out of polymer clay, so they look like rocks. But then when you turn them over, there's a little flower that's on the front. Kind of a fun piece of jasper. Found at the beach. It's got red and yellow, and then you can tell a rock hound because we like to do this with the water. I think I'm goofing off a little bit here. Yay, rocks! It's something I've done since I was a kid. My grandmother and grandfather were, like I said, they were rock hounds, so sometimes they would take road trips to go look for particular types of rocks. We have a state rock in Oregon called a thunder egg, and that's a geode or a hollow rock, and when you crack it open, there's crystals inside. So they would go to places where those thunder eggs were known to be found. And sometimes we'd go to Central Oregon and look for chunks of the volcanic glass. And my grandfather had a rock tumbler that he made out of this kind of a piece of equipment called a cement mixer. It was actually pretty small. The diameter across the thing was maybe 2.5 or 3 feet, but he'd fill it up with, I don't know, several buckets of rocks, and then it would get plugged in. He put a motor on it, and the thing would run it for days, or probably a couple of weeks, and then you would take the rocks out and they would be all polished and shiny, and course, all the edges would get rounded off, and they would do all kinds of things with them. They'd cut them into slabs and make coasters, or pieces that could be polished and set into jewelry. Thanks for stopping in, Annoyed Cricket Helmet. It was really nice to chat with you this evening. I appreciate you very much. Time does fly when we're tracing pebbles. And hanging out and chatting. And I appreciate you spending time with me and with everybody else in chat. Thank you so much. So yesterday I did a couple of shorter live streams where I didn't talk much. I just concentrated on the sketching. I'd had a comment asking why I was talking to myself, and I do have my comments set so that I screen a lot of them before they get posted, just to make sure that there's kindness in this community. That's really important to me, and I want to have that value reflected in what goes out to people. Anyway, it was kind of a snarky question, but I thought that the point that they were making was interesting enough to explore. So I did a couple of videos where there's not much chit chat, and I think their objection was that they were looking at a live stream that hadn't fully processed, so the live chat had not attached. And if you can't read the chat, I'm still new at this, so I'm not really great at. I forget to read out the questions so that it makes more sense on replay. But if you're ever feeling like you want just a quiet 30 minutes of just watching the pebbles get traced without me jabbering away, there's a couple of those up now. And so far, they haven't garnered very many views, so. Myself, I think I enjoy live streams where there's a lively chat and people are interacting. I think that's that socializing aspect of it is pretty important. So that's why in part why I've opted to do live streams rather than to record a video and just upload a video. So I think I will be staying with more of this live stream format. And if folks want an occasional quiet sketching, those are certainly easy enough to do from time to time. Maya, you know, I had, um, I had, I had 6 snappy answers back to that, which is if you don't like it, keep scrolling. And you know, there's so much content on YouTube that, you know, if I don't understand someone who would be irritated, but they would just hang out there and just continue to be irritated because there's so much content that's really interesting and delightful. And there's literally millions of people uploading content as fast as they possibly can. So I didn't quite, I didn't quite understand, but I tried to just take away, to just try to take away a little bit of positivity out of it, and it is this question of should I talk, because these aren't strictly speaking tutorials, so there's really nothing to explain other than I do like to say a little bit about mindfulness and encourage people to add a mindfulness practice to their daily lives. But I really don't need to detail, you know, okay, uncap the pen, touch the pen to the paper. I suppose that there's probably a content creator out there who does it to that level, but that's not going to be me. Wow. I really want to make this a big purple rock in here, but I also think I haven't left much negative space. But you know what? The world can't have enough big purple rocks. There it is. Yeah, Maya says that she likes when the creator is talking, and she's done some videos where she wasn't going to talk, just to play a little music. But then when people show up in the chat, it feels weird not to talk to them. Yeah, one of the streams I did today, there was nobody in the chat. So it was just a 20-minute one, and there were people there. I could see that there were folks watching, but nobody was chatting. I know, aren't those colors just delicious? Yeah, a little time for an art show. I was going with some brighter colors today. Whoops. And then, I do love my earth tones, so I did get a few earth tones in there. I think this was my favorite today. I like this piece that right here that looks like a piece of sea glass in the middle of the pebbles. Well, if you have time to hang out, I'll do another one. Alrighty. Maybe let's do an earth tone one. You know how it goes with live streams. About the time you think, oh, I'll wrap this up, somebody comes skipping in, and then the chat picks up, and I've got a wobbly piece of paper here. So I also wonder how many people are watching live streams who are listening because they're learning a language. So I had a look at here I go off into the weeds. I had a look at the analytics to see where people were from, and I know a couple of the places that showed up on that list, they are places where there's not a lot of English spoken. So I thought, why are they watching? Watching art is always interesting to me. So I'll allow for some of that to go on. But then I also wondered if people were maybe just listening to live streams that were done in another language because maybe they were studying English. Raul, so now you live in Spain, but you were educated in South America. You have been all over the world, my friend. I would like to be in your pocket. I think you must have a very interesting life. I've got quite a decent percentage of viewers from India, which I know quite a few people in India speak English, and in Russia, which I'm pretty sure that people in other countries tend to speak more than one language, much more so than in the United States. We do have a fairly high population of people who just think that they should only ever speak English no matter what. And they couldn't imagine a country like Canada that has two national languages, French and English. Myself, I like travel and I like being able to communicate with people. Yeah, most universities in the United States, though, if you take a Bachelor of Arts degree, most of them require a second language. So I think that's a good thing. Of course, Bachelor of Science degree, you have to speak math, which to me is the hardest foreign language I ever tried to learn. That's a joke. Oh, subtitles. Well, I should probably not dedicate too much time to trying to figure out what the algorithm is all about because I think a creator could probably go kind of crazy trying to chase that and just trying to make any sense of it. And about the time you did make any sense of it, they change it up so it's doing something else. But I do want to try to figure out what people like, what's going right, so I can do more of the stuff that people like to see. And then some days I'm just much more of a mindset that I'll just do what I do, and if people like it, that's great. And I will at least be doing something that I enjoy doing. So it's just an added benefit if other people find it gives them something useful. But I'm retired. I had a long work life where I spent all my time just doing stuff that other people liked, and now I feel like it's the point in life where it's okay to do what I like to do and not feel like I have to get up every day and produce work for some algorithm that I don't even really understand. That doesn't seem like a good use of my time, you know? So, if you really want to find them, if you're looking at your channel, there's a little rectangle icon. And if you go to your channel, and it'll show you the last video you uploaded, your most active video, and sometimes there's a place where you can see this week's, the last 7 days worth of videos. And then there's just a little rectangle. It almost kind of looks like that a little bit. That's analytics. And there's another program called YouTube Studio. You can download it from the Play Store. And that actually has some really useful features where you can keep track of things like watch hours and your subscribers. And you can also deal with the comments in YouTube Studio. So I find it a useful tool. And there's a tab in YouTube Studio that is literally, the tab is analytics, and you can see things like the age breakdown of your viewers and what age groups you're reaching. And then if you have viewers from various countries, I'm not particularly trying to reach anybody in another country or any country, including the United States. It just, to me, it's really interesting to see all of the different countries of the world where people have tuned in from. And so far, this is what I've learned about the analytics. Things that I thought were lively or entertaining or fun, sometimes those will end up with like 20 views. And then I had one the other day that went 400 views. And I got done with the live stream and I felt like, I didn't feel like it went great. It didn't go really badly, but and I have no idea. It could just have been the time of day that it came out and that it happened to roll up on the YouTube front page or something. I just couldn't tell you why it did okay. And I'm glad it did. Oh, I see. Raul says he gets India, Mexico, and the United States. And I have been consistently the United States, Russia, and India, and very rarely does Mexico pop up on my list of places that where my videos are getting watched. Yeah, I can see why your content would be appealing in Mexico, Raul. Um, like, I think of it as a place with a lot of liveliness and an appreciation for well, I know what you do is more than cartoons, but like I'm thinking of the Mexican wrestling luchadores, and like there's just a liveliness to Mexican culture that actually I don't know why your art wouldn't be appealing everywhere. It's just got a lot of whimsy and liveliness to it. Hey Maya, if you wouldn't mind, um, would you drop a link for Raul's channel in the chat? And I will try to remember to add it into the comments for Replay Crew as well. And of course, your own channel, Maya, as well. I mean, we're midway through September here. It's a month and a half away from October. I was out today and I noticed that many of my neighbors they've already started to put up their Halloween decorations. So we've got lights and skeletons and yeah, when is Dia de los Muertos? I think that's at the beginning of November. I really enjoyed the ones that you did for. It's not Diwali, was it Holly? Yeah, November 1st. Dia de los Muertos. Oh yeah, this is a bit in that along those lines. Um, a couple of weeks ago, you did some cartoons, some shorts that had some themes from an Indian holiday. That Festival of Colors looks like the people have so much fun. I I see that and I think, oh, I want to do that, and then I realize like I'm the kind of person that the first time I got a little speck of powder in my eye, I would be like, no, no, no more powdered color, no, and it wouldn't be that much fun. But it looks like it would be a lot of fun. I just don't know how you would keep from getting stuff up your nose and in your mouth and then I wonder about that powder. Is it like Kool-Aid? Is it flavored? So if you get a big wallop of red powder in your face, does it taste like strawberries or cherries or just chalk. And then my inner child is like a tiny adult who is saying things like, "Who's going to do all that laundry? What a mess. Somebody's got to clean that up." No, he probably just stay in the yard and turn the hose on. Oh, okay. So like baby powder that has like talcum powder, or in the United States baby powder used to be talcum powder, but now it's cornstarch. They decided that talc was apparently not good for us in some way. Uh, oh, Maya, who lives in the northern hinterlands in Norway, says that the only ones who really decorate for Halloween are the stores, which seems like an okay idea. Halloween, when I was a kid, it was just something that you would carve a pumpkin and you would set a pumpkin outside on your porch with a candle in it because of daylight savings time and the latitude that I live. By the time you get to Halloween, it's it's pretty dark around 5 p.m. So we would put out the jack-o'-lanterns, a carved pumpkin with a candle, and maybe it would sit, like ours would sit on the porch. Maybe we would carve the pumpkins the weekend before Halloween, and then the night of Halloween we would put a candle in the pumpkin and light that. But we didn't put lights on the house or decorations in the yard or anything like that. We would make our costumes, and then the children would be all decked out in a Halloween costume. And in the community there might be an organization, a civic organization, or sometimes a church, and they would create a haunted house that would be a destination that you would go to. But it wasn't like it is today, where you go down a street and the majority of the houses will have lights and they'll have plastic skeletons and all kinds of decorations that are just made of like a lot of plastic and that are they come from places like Walmart, and it just seems like it's expensive, and the stuff is like it breaks down and it's just garbage. And we still have the community haunted houses that you can go to, but then there's also more, I think more houses decorate with lights and decorations for Halloween than they do for Christmas anymore. This really just changed a lot in my lifetime, and I'm kind of puzzled by it, to be honest. I kind of like the old days where one night a year you had families out with their kids trick-or-treating, and then kind of the weekend after Halloween you would take the yucky old pumpkin off the front porch, and that was about all there was for cleanup. Hmm. Yeah, yeah, I'm with you there. Yeah, we have a lot of pumpkins here where I live because we grow a lot of squash and pumpkins in the valley here. So there'll just be truckloads of them. Like in the summer, we'll have truckloads of watermelons, and so I would imagine at your latitude, you're probably quite a long ways away from maybe places that would grow pumpkin. And then pumpkin is a squash, so I know it's squash is grown quite a lot as a staple in Africa, but it's also kind of a new world thing here. Squash, corn, and beans together make a complete vegetarian protein. So, in some of our excavations of people who lived in North America 10,000 years ago, we'll find pumpkin or squash seeds stored in jars. Oh, so Maya, you've never had a chance to carve a pumpkin? Oh, it's a slippery, messy thing, but it is an awful lot of fun. Yeah, it really came together. Oh, let's see. We got. I'm gonna have a. I'm gonna have a couple of days of doing the. I think I got the shadows on that one, but. Well, and I imagine they'd probably be pretty expensive too. So once you carve them and carve holes in them and set them outside, it's not like you can take them back inside and bake them and make a pie out of them. So, um, but it's a lot of fun when you're a kid to think of the design and have it come to life. Alrighty. Well, I want to thank everybody who came in and spent some time. Thank people who joined us in chat, and those of you who watch. I want to encourage everybody to be kind to yourself. Take your time to make some art, and we'll see you next time. Thanks so much, everybody. I appreciate you all. Bye now.